Welcome to the One-to-One podcast, brought to you by the Learning Technology Center of Illinois. The LTC is a program of the Illinois State Board of Education. We support all K-12 districts, schools, and educators in Illinois through technology initiatives, services, and professional learning opportunities.
Our work addresses high-need technology and digital learning challenges, and we help schools increase access to and use of technology to improve educational opportunities for students. Our hosts are
Brian Bates, Associate Executive Director for Professional Learning.
And Matt Jacobson, Online Learning Coordinator. Let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Hey, Brian, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. We're getting ready, coming up on holiday season here of various types, and kind of getting excited about it. So,
yes, looking forward to the holidays. It's always a good time. There's, the little bit of the stress that goes on with the holidays, and just all the different activities that are going on. But it is at the end of the day a really nice opportunity to step back and kind of recharge and get ready for the second half of the school year.
well, and I imagine you've had a lot of activity and maybe a little stress involved recently too, because we're on the backside of the big fall conference, IETC. So, tell us about IETC, Brian, and your role in it, and tell us about the Illinois Education and Technology Conference.
Yeah, you're talking about the stress piece. It's every year with IETC, October flies by, and then November happens, and we have IETC, and then a few weeks go by, and you're like, oh wow, it's already almost the holiday time. It makes the fall time go really, really quickly. But my role, I'm one of many committee members responsible for helping to put on IETC each year. My role is to oversee the programming aspect of the conference. So it's from selecting the different sessions that are going to be going on for the breakout sessions and workshops, to creating the schedule, helping to get the keynotes identified and booked, and just making sure that the real meat and potatoes of the conference, so to speak, are that kind of falls under my responsibility. Make sure that those are all done, and hopefully each year, that they're done in a way that makes people excited and they learn something. So,
Well, IETC, even before I came to work with the LTC, IETC was always one of my favorite conferences because it attracts the big names, but it's small enough to feel like you're a part of a community.
oh, absolutely. As we were talking before we started recording, IETC was the first conference I ever presented at way back when, probably 6, 7, 8 years ago now at this point. And it's always been one that I've had kind of circled on my calendar before I joined the LTC, of one that I really, really, really wanted to go to.
Mm-hmm.
What I appreciate about it, and I've had this conversation with other people, is that IETC is great because it's, number one, it's centrally located.
Springfield, Illinois.
You don't have to drive 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours to a big city somewhere to attend. It's right in, hopefully, most people's in central Illinois' backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So it still has, we had this year, this year we're coming up on just shy of 700 participants.
Wow.
So it's still got good numbers,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it feels intimate. Like you feel like you're in a cohort of fellow educators that you can learn from and talk to. And it doesn't feel intimidating to walk into a exhibit hall with thousands of people.
Right.
It's still very approachable, very, very welcoming environment. So I that's what I love about IETC.
And we're in a new venue for the second year. The venue upstairs is just phenomenal. It's a big stage. It's set up like, the great big conferences. It's really, I think it's kind of a classy main stage. and it's right next to the exhibit hall. Actually it's part of it.
Mhm.
Um, how how has the whole exhibit hall keynote experience been received by um, attendees?
Overall, it's been really good, a really good change. Um, it's nice to be in the heart of downtown, walking distance from a lot of restaurants and nightlife and things like that. If you're interested in enjoying yourself after the conference is over, so that's great. Um, the location itself, it's great because like you were mentioning, we've got a really nice large keynote area, which we can do a lot of different things too, and we're constantly looking for how we can improve that. And not to mention the facility themselves. And we had some conversations during IETC this year, and they're making some improvements next year, which are
Mhm.
going to, in turn, allow us to provide a different experience in coming years for our keynote area. But that's been really well received and well done. It's a nice big stage to put people up on display, and I like doing that. It's great to have the exhibit hall right there, right outside the curtains from there.
Mhm.
It makes it feel, in past years, it felt like the exhibit hall was kind of its own area. The breakout rooms were their own area. The keynote area was its own area, and they were all kind of, you didn't really have a whole lot of mixing between. And now with
Mhm.
the new location, you walk in and you're first greeted by in the lobby. Then once you go in, it's either I'm going into the exhibit hall or to the breakout rooms, and
Right.
you have to walk through the exhibit hall to get to the keynote area. So it's very much everything is all connected, easy to
Mhm.
get to, easy to navigate. It's all right there. So
Yeah.
that's been really well received. It's been a very positive thing for us.
Yeah. The downstairs, the breakout room areas, um, it in the past we'd have to go to different floors and different rooms that had different names. Now we're all on one floor, and I gotta say it feels there's 700 people, and how many concurrent sessions
There,
roughly?
there's generally most time slots have approximately 10 to 13 breakout rooms going on.
Mhm. And but it feels small. It feels like an elementary or a junior high school, when it's in passing time
Yeah.
between classes. It's it's very intimate. It's very personal. You have time to talk to presenters and even keynoters. Um, I've just been really impressed with the the change that makes it feel so much more like a personal experience rather than I'm a one little fish in a big giant pond.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. It's you can space out as much as you need to, but it's not the overwhelming feel of walking into a room with, a
Mhm,
huge number of people, but also um, a nice, you have the opportunity, I think, as a presenter also to connect with your audience.
mhm.
Some of the rooms can hold up to 130 people. The smaller rooms hold down to around 40 to 50 people.
Yeah,
But anything in between, it feels like it's a intimate enough venue that you can connect with your participants in that breakout session.
great, great. And I heard the food was really good this year. And
Food's great. That's always, those are always the things that you look at on the evaluations at the end of the year.
right?
And that's one thing. We love our evaluation, love the feedback. Um,
Yeah.
and I've said here, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. We've had some suggestions for improvement too, and we act on those, and we're always looking for ways to improve everything, not just the things that are pointed out to us, like, hey, what if next year you tried something like this? But even things that are going well, we're looking to improve. And the best part about it is, I know that there are a handful of things that, couple things that came up during the evaluations that people would like to see work a little bit better. And I
Mhm,
can tell you that Kara, the event coordinator with the LTC, and I have been working on we've already been in meetings with other uh, opportunities to make some of those improvements. And so we're getting close to um, figuring out what we're going to do next year to make some of those improvements. So it's exciting to be able to make those changes. But yes, food is always important at a conference. It was fantastic food. The everybody who was involved in the catering process was great. So as long as food goes well, it's always a good day in my book.
Yeah. And that's a really good point. And I'm not sure that people really understand when you fill out those evaluations. Brian, you read every single one of those.
I do.
From the rate this item to the long form comments. And like you said, you take action on those when you can, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's always some things that you can that are beyond your control. Sure. Whether it's the limitation of your venue or the time frame or something like that. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be something that I wish we could have met that need for that person, but that just it didn't happen. And that happens everywhere. But we look at those things and we say, what can we do? What can we do differently next year? And how can we try to improve this? And even if it's a small thing, we're always looking for how to improve. And I think that's an important thing for a conference, is to not get stuck in their ways. And also not, like, as I mentioned, it's not to hang your hat on what you've done well in the past and just continue. Right. But it's to say, okay, well, this is going really well and nobody had anything to say about it. They all said it was great. That doesn't mean that there's not room for improvement or ways to make it more accessible, make it more engaging, make it something that's even better the next time. So,
yeah. And folks, when you go to those conferences, real people do really read those evaluations.
Yeah.
We had a great time at trivia in the evening. That was fun. Oh, and we had excellent Wi-Fi coverage, which is always important at a tech conference.
Yeah, so, a huge thank you to Jared and Butch on our tech team for working to secure our own network for the conference. That is one thing that's rough, is when you're a technology conference and your Wi-Fi is not good.
Yeah,
that's not good. So we made sure that we took care of that this year. So that was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Well, we also had the podcast there, and we had a handful of people who volunteered to provide their input on the IETC experience. So let's let them tell us what they felt like.
Yeah, it sounds great. I'm excited to hear what they had to say.
Hi, everyone. We're here today with Tim McIlvain, Executive Director of the Learning Technology Center of Illinois, and my boss. And Tim, tell us a little bit about what's happening here at IETC today.
Well, it's going really well so far. We have had our keynote with Carl Hooker this morning. He talked a lot about innovation and how to bring that spark to students in your classroom. And then throughout today, we have sessions that are focused on topics like artificial intelligence, digital learning, computer science, pretty much the whole gamut of educational technology.
Mm-hmm. And how many years has this been the LTC's fall conference kind of a thing?
That's a good question. So the past 4 years, it has been the LTC's conference. Mm-hmm. But this is actually the 30th year of the conference.
Wow.
Which we've not made a big deal about and probably should have, but it's 30 years. It's been going on.
This has always been my favorite conference from my days back in the classroom and in the central office. This has always been my go-to conference because it's big enough that you get people from all over the state coming in, but it's small enough that it feels like people are talking not at you, but with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is a real draw for IETC. You don't feel like a number in a mass of people.
Yeah.
How's attendance looking this year? Are we doing pretty good?
We're doing great. It's every year it seems we get slightly bigger. So we're at roughly 700 right now.
Mhm.
And just kind of going off what you were saying, you and I have both been to conferences that have had 10,000 attendees, right?
Right.
And you get lost both in the building and you get lost with the people who are attending, and you don't make those connections that
Mhm.
are meaningful and really build you up as a person and build you up as an educator. And so I think one of the things I love about IETC is how intimate it is.
Right.
How you see some of the same people year after year, and you get to know them because you see them in IETC, and then every year you see new people and have those conversations that really spark you as an educator.
I met some people from Southern Illinois who we have mutual friends, and connected them with some other people in other parts of the state, and we wouldn't have, those people and I, none of us would have made those connections if we hadn't been here.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what's happening tonight?
Well, we have IETC trivia. So,
Right?
you're right.
Oh, yeah.
The
See?
audience really appreciates this.
Everyone.
Right. Yes.
Trivia.
Right. So this is the second year we've had trivia. It's going to be bigger and better than last year, which was pretty big, or pretty good last year. So this is going to be fantastic. And everybody at IETC is invited to come out. We're going to be playing for a couple hours, free pizza, bar. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I understand we're going to have a special guest attending this evening. Isn't that right?
I know who you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
So we'll just have to not mention it, because if somebody wants to know, they'll have to come next year to see the special guest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if you're not tempted by that, it's a giant hedgehog. So
yeah, who wouldn't want to see that? And Abe Lincoln was wandering around here.
Mm-hmm. The real Abe Lincoln came to visit.
Okay.
He talked to all the vendors, attendees. Great photo op. Hopefully we have him again next year.
Absolutely.
He has a busy schedule, though. He told us he was going to the Ford Theater after today. So we'll just see.
Okay. We'll see how that works out.
Mm-hmm.
And
hope it's
tomorrow,
a good show.
I hope it's a good show. Memorable, to be sure.
Yes.
I wonder what's happening tomorrow.
Well, we kick off the day with EdTech Share. Actually, we really kick off the day with our Women in Technology breakfast and panel. This is a new feature of IETC where we have a panel of technology leaders who are women, and they're going to be talking about their experiences, and it's going to be moderated by Mindy Fiscus, our Director of Government Affairs. And then we have EdTech Share, which is a really fun event where we invite 4 leaders, educational technology leaders, to talk about something they're passionate about: tools, apps, strategies. So it's a very fast-paced session. This is our keynote, and then we have sessions the rest of the day.
All day.
Yeah.
Wow. There's no stopping at IETC.
There is no stopping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Tim McIlvain, thank you very much for spending some time with us here on the podcast. And I hope the conference goes very well, and hope next year's is even bigger and better.
Of course. Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone.
We are here at IETC 2023 with Alex Valencic. Did I get that close?
Yes, you did. You got it right. Spot on.
All right. So Alex is the professional learning coordinator at Freeport.
Yep.
So this is not your first IETC, is it?
No, it's not. I think this is number 4.
Number 4.
I think so.
Okay.
I've lost track now. But,
okay. So what are you learning about at IETC this year?
this year, I've really been trying to focus in on student engagement, classroom management type things. I was just in a session actually where the speaker, Melissa, she was actually talking about how the focus needs to move away from classroom management and on learning management, being explicit with what we want students to do, because it's something I've heard so much in like the last year. Brene Brown, who lifted it from, I think, Alcoholics Anonymous, the whole clear is kind. You can't hold people to an expectation you don't tell them.
Right.
So I've been really excited. Some of the sessions I've been going to where I've been hearing that message of when it comes to technology, when it comes to the learning tasks we're giving students, and it comes to walking down the hallway. If we don't actually tell the students what it is we need to do, and if we're not telling staff, we can't hold them to an expectation of things we didn't actually tell them.
Excellent point. Excellent point. And you bring up something really important too. People come to IETC focusing on the T, the technology in IETC, but it's much, much more than that, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the other thing I'm seeing, like in the sessions, that technology, it's there because it's all around us. But most of the sessions I'm going to, they're not like, hey, we're going to teach you how to use Nearpod, or we're going to teach you how to use Paradeck. It's more of a, these things exist. How are we using them intentionally to improve learning?
Right, right. Technology is a tool. It doesn't replace good classroom management and good learning activities and what's best for kids.
Yeah, which, I mean, our keynote this morning, right? Carl Hooker, he's talking about like there's an app like, was it Will Robots Take My Job or whatever it was called, right?
Right.
And it's like, no, robots can't take the job of teachers away from us. It's
Not ever.
It's not going to happen.
Right, right. So, and you've been involved in the planning of IETC in the past.
Yeah, in the past I have been.
Okay. So that's probably a pretty easy job. You don't kind of cruise along and you don't really do anything.
Yeah,
do you?
I wasn't part of it this year, but yeah, I mean, the group typically start the planning in February. And I mean, my past experience was meetings at least monthly, sometimes a couple of times a month, going through and all the little details. It's really interesting. I was talking to some of my colleagues who were eating lunch, and they're like, "This is like the best lunch I've had offered at a conference I've gone to." And I'm like, "Well, no, those are those little details that we really need to think about." And I appreciate the committee is really drilled down to those specific details to make sure the attendee experience is a good one.
Good. And speaking of the attendee experience, are you going to be coming out to trivia tonight?
Yeah. Oh, I will definitely be on trivia, and we'll see if I can redeem myself from last year. And I helped come up with the trivia questions, and I missed some of them.
Gotcha.
But I'm excited for the trivia. That social part is it's a big part of what I love about IETC is like that network of people. It's like I've never been to ISTE. But when you hear about a conference that has attendance in like the tens of thousands, you're like, you're never going to meet anybody and you're never going to see them again because there's just too many people.
But here it's much more of a, it's a large conference, but it feels small. It feels like you're seeing your students or your colleagues in the hallways between classes, it feels just like you would throughout the day.
Yeah, it sounds like in some ways feels like almost more like a family reunion. Like it's, we're all in our different places, but we come together once a year to reconnect with each other and
connect with people we haven't met before.
Yeah, and connect with new people and build a network.
Excellent. Alex, it's great to see you. Thanks for being on the podcast and hope to see you again very soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Hi, everyone. We are here with Heather Brown. Heather, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you do? Where do you do it?
I am a kindergarten through fifth grade math interventionist and STEAM teacher in a little rural school called East Coloma Nelson Elementary up in Rock Falls, Illinois. Okay. And I have been, this is my 10th year there. Oh, but fantastic. I was primarily a third grade teacher and I moved over to math.
And STEAM, I understand.
And STEAM, yes.
Yes. So I've seen you around the hallways at IETC and other places before.
Yes.
Okay. So not your first rodeo here at IETC.
Not at all.
So how many times is this for IETC for you?
This is my third IETC.
Okay, good. And what are your general impressions of IETC so far?
I love IETC because it's more of a local feeling. It's just like a warm neighborly feeling where everyone's willing to talk. Everyone's your friend. We all are constantly sharing information with each other and sharing ideas. And it's just a wonderful place to be.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we're glad you're here for sure.
Thank you.
So have you, what are your big takeaways from this IET so far? Like what kind of sessions have you attended and what are you getting from them?
My favorite one was a STEAM session I attended. And for some reason, I'm blanking on the names of the presenters, of course. That's okay. But they had monthly STEAM challenges. And I thought that would be so fun because I work in a K-8 district. So to see how kindergartners do with it compared to eighth graders would be so much fun. and to see the
Interesting.
progression and kind of to challenge other grade levels around them, it would just be really fun to me. And then they were also talking about connecting it to their essential map. Well, right now we're working on our essential standards to figure out what ones are our priorities versus ones that we don't have to work on as much. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to make STEAM lessons to go with all of these different essential standards that the teachers can embed into their actual classrooms. That way the kids can see that STEAM isn't just a Mrs. Brown subject.
Right.
It's in every subject as well.
Absolutely. I like it. I like it. So, are there any other sessions? I mean, there's lots of topics out there
There
on
are
the
so many.
agenda today and tomorrow. What else have you been learning about here? And what do you plan to take back? What else do you plan to take back to your school district?
Well, I loved Carl Hooker's keynote today because I'm all about making mistakes. I'm Miss Frizzle. You make mistakes, you get messy.
Right.
Like that's the whole point to me of education.
Absolutely.
And so I really like the way he had, I think it was 7 reasons that people might not be willing to, try new things. It's that whole fear. And I'm not one of those people. I'm one of those people that I jump in head first and I don't care if I fail. So for me to understand why some people aren't that way was very important. And so then I can take some of those ideas he gave us and kind of lean into the teachers a little bit and be more understanding, but still provide that, hey, but you have a support system here.
Yep. And still provide a little push, a little gentle shove in the innovation space.
Exactly.
Excellent. Are you coming out to the trivia this evening?
I will be viewing the trivia.
Very good. Okay.
I will be cheering everyone on.
Yep. Not a problem. That was me last year.
Yep, that will definitely be me.
Yeah, that's all right. And anything tomorrow that's really stands out to you as far as here's a session or something I can't miss?
I have several marked down in the app, but I honestly can't tell you what they are off the top of my head because I'm part of the keynote tomorrow, so my head is on that.
Well, tell us about tomorrow's keynote then.
Well, we have an EdTech share tomorrow. And I am sharing 3 different apps that can be used for elementary teachers because we have heard many times that at these tech conferences, these are materials that middle school and high school students can use, but not elementary. Well, the ones I'm sharing tomorrow can be used for all levels. So not just elementary, but I'm just saying, hey, elementary teachers, look, here's some really awesome stuff for you.
Excellent.
Yes.
And you're right. A lot of times when people come to conferences, they say, this is great, but not for me.
Right.
And there's something for everyone here.
There really is.
Excellent. Okay. Well, Heather Brown, thank you very much. Enjoy IETC, and we'll see you around the hallways again real soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. So, folks, we're here today with Linda DeYounge at the Illinois Education and Technology Conference 2023. Linda, what do you do when you're not hanging out at conferences?
Sure. So I work currently as the professional learning facilitator at ROE4, which is words that don't really mean much, but I do all of their online learning management system work. I do a lot of their virtual workshops, conferences, designing courses, running the courses, facilitating those courses, and some marketing, some graphic design. So a lot of creative work, which I really enjoy. And I'm excited to be here.
Great. Is this your first time at a conference like this?
It's not my first time at a conference like this, but it is my first time at IETC. So I was at EdTech Next with you guys earlier in the summer. I was presenting there, and I'm here today presenting as well. So
what are you presenting on?
So myself and Holly Kelly with LTC presented or co-presented on brainology, how technology impacts the student brain, the brain in general, and just ways to set boundaries and manage technology so that's working for you, not working so that you're using it, it's not using you.
Very interesting. I bet that was a highly attended session.
Yes, it was. I think we probably had like 50-ish
Wow.
people in that session. So yeah,
That's a popular topic.
it is.
We might circle back around to that
Yeah,
for a
sure.
future episode or a webinar or something like that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's talk about your experience here at IETC.
Sure.
How do you think, how does IETC kind of stack up to other conferences or conventions you've been to?
So this reminds me a lot of like RSAC, like the Raising Student Achievement Conference, where there's just so many topics that you can attend. There's a wide variety of presenters and lots of breakouts for, every hour block. Lots of choice. I love, you guys have a great exhibition hall, actually. Some of the exhibition halls at other conferences kind of feel like sad tables, whereas here there's a lot of freebies, a lot of like engaging people and products and things to look at. You guys are feeding us. That's great. We love to we love to be fed.
We've gotten some good some, no pun intended, we've gotten good feedback on the food today especially.
Yes. So it's been really awesome. The keynotes have been great. That we had the kind of half day yesterday about AI, which is such a fascinating topic, and I think right now everyone's talking about AI, so it's a little bit like more AI, but it's because it's what's coming, it's the future, and for better or for worse,
right? There's no escape.
No, Pandora's box is open, like we're there. Right. So we had that was a great session, and then this morning, super energetic about just what does it mean to be innovative, which really spoke to me because I have to innovate all the time to bring PD online to people and give them something that is relevant and engaging and isn't just kind of like public school works. No offense, public school works, but just modules that you have to click through and
sure. Yeah. And that there is a place for that.
Absolutely.
There is definitely a place for that, but also that can be overdone. And I will say in the rest of my job when I'm not podcasting, I will say I've been guilty of that as well. And just a little hint, we're looking at some ways to kind of modify that in the coming years. Watch this space for future announcements.
Very mysterious.
Yes. So what are some of the things that you have been kind of particularly impressed about? What are your big takeaways? I mean, you're not really our focused demographic. You're not our course avatar, if you will, right? You come from sort of a different background, and you represent a different facet of the audience that we serve. So, what are you learning about, and what are you going to take back and implement?
Absolutely.
So far.
So, like you said, the audience that I serve is adult learners, and teachers, educators, staff members in school districts. So, we're not working with those K-12 students directly necessarily. We're working with those that impact those students, leaders, And so I went to a session today on badging. Because right now we don't have a badging system in our ROE for our online courses, but that's something I've always been interested in. And so it's great to have support of someone who has already implemented badge systems and has kind of a framework for them and resources to be able to go and see, well, is this something I could do in my practice to make our online learning a little bit more personal? And it brought up all these questions of like, oh, maybe there should be a free course people can take where they get used to the actual LMS system and then they get a badge like, hey, you are proficient in Canvas, for example, or Blackboard or whatever that learning management is. And it's just a free course anyone can take. And then they actually get into their paid course and then they also get a badge for completing that.
Excellent.
Or, you know what I mean? Or maybe it's that we have a leaderboard and we send like prizes to people for being at the top of the leaderboard every year, or maybe we send out physical like enamel pins for certain badges. So it just like got the wheels thinking about ways to make it more engaging, more personal, and for people to show off the learning that they've done. And of course, I'm also thinking about maybe those pitfalls, like, how do you really motivate people online to get what is essentially like a sticker?
Right.
You know, like, how do you motivate them to want the sticker?
Sure.
And
Sure.
so just trying to think through those and having support in that is great. So yeah, that was just an example of like one session that I feel like gives me more tools and just the space and the time to think about how I'm going to implement new and better things for teachers, educators, staff members, leaders across my area.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing all the fun things that you come up with soon. And
Soon.
we don't expect
Yeah,
big
eventually.
changes Monday.
Yes, eventually.
It'll take some time.
Yes.
But yes. Well,
Got to get through the LMS first. The LMS searches first.
There you go.
Yes.
Well, Linda DeYounge from ROE4,
Yes.
thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Yes,
And
Matt. It's so nice to actually sit down with you.
in real life?
Yes, Matt and I work together online sometimes.
A
So
little bit. So thanks for
Thank
being
you.
on the podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Kari Moulton, and I am on the committee for IETC, so I help with the planning and everything. And I am also the trivia host for the trivia nights each year.
So what goes into planning IETC?
So we meet monthly, starting in usually like March or April, and we talk about like the sessions that we want to see and the social events and the different activities and vendors, and kind of just trying to see how we can make this the best conference for everyone possible.
Now you've been doing this for more than just this year, right?
Yes, this is my third year being on the committee.
Okay. What makes this year different than previous years?
Well, so this is our second year here at the BOS. So I think this year was just trying to, how can we improve on things from last year? And I think we did that. Like, our internet's been awesome. Last year we had some internet issues, but we're looking at things that maybe we got some feedback from and trying to change that. So getting better internet, getting our vendor sessions, or not vendor sessions, our exhibit halls. Like, that was, our exhibit hall is awesome compared to previous years. Like,
Very true.
more exhibitors, engaging, and just how can we look at engaging. So I would say this year we had more participants, we've had more vendors and exhibitors, and just it's kind of feels back to like pre-COVID, like normalcy.
That's kind of nice.
It
We don't
is.
get that in a lot of
No.
things in education now, do we?
Like, I feel like we're back and we're getting sessions that are great and topics that are relevant to the teachers in the classroom.
Awesome. And I've heard good things about the food so far.
Yes, the food was amazing.
Yeah.
We've had really good food, pizza last night, lunches. I think it's been an overall great conference this year. We knocked last year out of the park. This year's.
So have you had any discussions about IETC 24 yet?
So we have started at our kind of note document that we are going to look at for, so in about a month, we'll have another debriefing on kind of like what can we do for next year. And so we're already taking ideas on how we can even improve from this year and what we liked this year and what we need to fix for next year. So yeah, we're always thinking for the year before the next year.
Well, thank you very much for taking some time to talk to the podcast.
No problem.
And we are looking forward to great things for 2024.
Yes. And if you were not here, you need to be here next year.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No problem.
So next we're here with the LTC's Emily Poole. She's an instructional coach in the Western Illinois region. And Emily, tell us a little bit about you and what you do for LTC.
So I am an instructional technology coach in the Western area of Illinois, and I serve Pikeland School District.
Okay.
Go Sockies. And so I get to go to their school a couple days a week and support their teachers in integration of technology and understanding technology, finding ways to use technology with their students, and really just anything that they need help with.
Yep.
So.
And some of you may recognize Emily as the voice and the face behind several of our online courses as well.
Yeah. So when I'm not in the coaching realm, as you know, Matt, I get to work with you and help with the coursework. So we love doing those Google Basics courses and all those ways to help people so that they can learn on their time when they want to in their own space.
And coming soon, we may have some fun things to release in the springtime too.
Super excited about what we're creating for that.
Yeah.
For that next level, we've got a lot of people that are doing the basics, and maybe they already have the basics under their belt, and so maybe they're interested in a little bit more. So we've got these little micro pieces.
Yeah.
They're coming.
Yeah. So Emily, we're here at IETC 2023 at the BOS Center in Springfield. What are your overall impressions of IETC 2023?
So it has seemed like it has run so smoothly. We've had so many people comment on the great organization and how many, like the variety of sessions. There've been a lot of sessions on AI, which is super hot right now, but I think supporting educators, the IT people, and all the tools and the tricks and how we're using that just seems like those rooms have been really full. And lots of fun different ones. The Lego room that was set up was great. The exhibit hall was super full, which was nice to see all those different vendors coming out and supporting and getting to talk to educators. Carl Hooker as our keynote, engaging, wonderful message. I think everybody needed to hear what he had to say. So it's just all around has been a wonderful experience.
When you're looking over the agenda of sessions, what have you seen so far?
So like I said, AI has been hit, but I think it's been hit from a lot of different angles. So as educators, as IT people, as coaches, you know, from the student perspective, I attended a great one on professional development. It was talking about how to help bring professional development to your school. My favorite message that I think I got from that one was like, hey, here's things we did and they didn't work, but they might work for you. And so just accepting failure and saying it didn't work, but maybe it could work. So always giving those ideas that someone else might use as a springboard.
Getting back to Carl Hooker's message about embracing failure and celebrating it, right?
You know, and we always kind of remember things when we fail at it first.
True.
That's how I feel. I'm like, I remember when I didn't get it, and then you do get it. So that's been great. I know my friend Beth is doing a great one on coaching right now. I missed the beginning of that, but I'll catch up with her on that later. Let's see what else. We've had some innovation with the STEM tools and different things. So just the wide variety that you can get, whether you're a classroom teacher, your IT, your media specialist. There's just, I think there's a little bit for everybody.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
And I also like the idea that if you're into the tech stuff, there's stuff for IT.
Yeah.
There's stuff for the nerdy people like me who like to dig into the applications and learn how to use those. But at the root of it all is, how does all of this stuff really support students and learning first? And how can learning about the IT stuff, how can learning about the apps support the activities in the classroom?
Together. And I'm glad you said that about students, because a couple of the sessions too have had student presenters,
nice.
Like teachers, or we've had some students, I think they were from over there on Western Illinois by me, brought a group of future educators.
Oh,
they
fantastic.
are in an education class in high school, and they came. So when we say it's a little bit of everybody, I think from the IT, the wires, the cables, those people, all the way through, your teachers, your coaches, we all make an impact. It doesn't matter where you are. Everybody has the opportunity to make an impact on the learning for a student. Because if the opportunities you want to provide for your students, or the things that you want to do, if your wires and cables aren't working the way, or your permissions aren't keeping your students safe, that gets in the way of what you want to deliver for your students. So, no matter who you are in a school, if we are all surrounded, we surround those students, we all play a role in their success.
Yeah.
So,
Emily Poole, thank you very much for this short segment on the One-to-One podcast. We appreciate you.
All right. Good times.
Okay. So we are here today with Lisa Schwartz and Barb Speckhart. Ladies, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves, who you are, and what you're doing here at IETC?
Yeah. Well, hi, Matt. Thanks for having us on today. My name is Lisa Schwartz, and I'm a regional ed tech coordinator for the Learning Technology Center. And this is my 25th year in education. The first 19 years I spent in the classroom teaching 6th through 9th grade. And now I am on my 6th year here at the with the LTC.
And Barb?
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Sure.
My name is Barb Speckhart. I am the technology coordinator at Payson School District. I've been in that position for 24 years. And before that, I had spent 12 years in the classroom teaching math and computer science.
Okay.
So I've seen computers change from dot matrix printers moving forward.
What did you present on this year?
Yeah, we presented on the microbit and using paper and cardboard and then incorporating the microbit into that.
Oh, cool. So don't have to have a huge capital outlay to teach some basic coding and circuitry type of lessons, huh?
You can get into microbits for under $50.
Wow.
They're just a great across the board circuit board for your students to use, from littles to bigs, and we introduced something relatively new. It's the microbit classroom that allows the teachers to somewhat monitor the coding that the students are doing and provide tips and tricks or to send them code.
Great. Very cool. So good turnout. Were you happy with turnout?
Yeah,
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
had a good turnout, and it was a workshop, so it was a 2-hour session, and got to be hands-on. They got to make a micropet, and then they could code the microbit to have the micropet make sounds, make faces. So
Okay, cool. And that's something that kids could do in the classroom. You don't have to. And is this something that like teachers would have to come here to like IETC to learn about?
no, there's virtual workshops that they can do if they reach out. There's other teachers, of course, here at the LTC, several of the coaches and the regional ed tech coordinators can help out and provide them with support, resources, and even workshops.
On site?
On site
Yeah. Out in
or
the schools?
virtual, yeah.
Gotcha.
Or even
Okay.
like at a regional office of education workshop.
Oh, okay.
And there's a ton of online resources for them to use to support them as they move forward with the microbits.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, today in the workshop, we had some people who have been using microbits for a few years, and we shared with them some resources they had no idea were out there.
Wow.
And they were happy to walk away with those.
Excellent. Excellent. So what are your overall impressions of IETC? Is this the first time now, Lisa, I know you've been to IETC before, but Barb, how many times have you been to IETC?
More than I can count. So, having been in education for 35 years and always been involved in computer science, I have been here on and off for many years.
So what's the draw to IETC for you?
The camaraderie of the people that you meet and develop relationships with, and getting to see what's new and interesting out there, and just bouncing ideas off of people you know. That those are conversations you could have in email, but they're much better to have one-to-one, and it's just building those relationships. I just really enjoy the relationships that we've established. And of course the vendor hall is always a great place too.
And to answer that as well, what's so great about this being from Central Illinois, we have something in our backyard. And, we've got some great sessions. We've got learning. We don't have to travel 3-4 hours to learn all of this. And then, to piggyback off of what Barb was saying, the networking and getting to see people that we've met over the years. Because I think my first IETC was back in, I'm dating myself here, back in 2009. And that's when I was teaching computers and computer science. And I remember learning about Scratch and just learning about some of the different resources out there that I could take back to the classroom and that I wouldn't have learned about otherwise.
And that's kind of the great things. That my first IETC was about that time as well.
Okay.
And there are people that I see here that I don't see for the rest of the year, but I know that they're going to be at IETC. And I get to reconnect with them and talk about the things that they're doing in their classroom and learn about that. And and I can share with them things that I've learned since last year and how that can influence their classroom, which I think is great. And the idea that you don't have, like you said, Lisa, you don't have to leave and be 4 or 5 hours from home in order to get really good professional learning about the latest and the greatest, which I've always been impressed with this conference, even before I came to LTC.
Yeah.
So, anything else? Have there been any other sessions here this year that have been particularly interesting to you?
I really liked the keynote, Carl Hooker
Mhm.
yesterday, that he just brought a different spin on things, the innovation. He got us involved, doing activities, and just re-energized many of us in the crowd.
And to kind of springboard off that, the AI sessions, the resources have been phenomenal to be able to take back.
Anything else about IETC that just has stood out to you this year?
I think just that even all of the connections with the vendors, and it just seems like one big happy family. I mean, because sometimes with the vendors, we've gotten to know them and they're part of our network now too. And the lunches have
Food's been amazing for some reason.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
That always.
And it's one of the
Always a
few
plus.
conferences you come to where the food's actually included.
right.
So that really is a respectful of our time, that we're able to really focus on getting to as many sessions and developing as many conversations and relationships with others that we can, and not having to leave the conference to go eat.
Barb Speckhart, Lisa Schwartz, thank you both for spending a little time with us here on the podcast, and hope we'll see you back here at IETC 2024. We had a lot of good feedback from participants and presenters, and even another committee, a couple of committee members this year. Next year, what can we expect, Brian, from IETC?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Next year, I'm really happy to announce that one of our featured keynote speakers and featured breakout speakers for one of the days, it will be none other than Eric Kurtz, who is the host and the creator, extraordinaire when it comes to his website, Control Alt Achieve. That was a great that was a huge resource to me when I was still in the classroom. I loved, I felt like every time I wanted to do something, I'm like, hey, how can I use technology, or how can I use Google to make this really cool, or this really more interactive and engaging for my students? His website was the first one to go to, and he has such incredibly practical ideas for how to boost engagement and get people, get students excited about learning, get teachers excited about teaching. So really excited to have Eric as one of our keynote speakers for next year.
And still working to develop and improve that conference every day practically. Do we have a timeline for registration and calls for presentations and things like that yet?
Don't have exact dates for registration and the RFP to present, but you will see those very shortly after the first of the year. Our goal, again, looking for ways to improve. I'm hoping that we can have a proposal out, early 2024, and getting those notifications, getting people accepted, getting that schedule built out much earlier than we have in the past, letting people know that they've been accepted much earlier than in the past. So I'm excited about that, looking after the first of the year.
Well, and who should apply to present? Like, we work for kind of a state organization, but who else might present,
Man, that's a great question. And honestly, anyone and everyone. And I say that because, as I mentioned at the beginning, IETC was the first conference that I threw my name in the hat as a speaker. And, 8 years ago, I just kind of started using technology in the classroom. And I thought, I went to all these conferences and learned from all these people. Surely there's something that I can talk about. And you go back and forth and you say, oh, that's not that special. That's not that cool. But I promise you, if you're doing something, there's 20 people out there that are going to be at the conference that are going to say, oh, that's interesting. I haven't heard of that or thought of that before. And there's no reason to be intimidated about presenting it, especially at IETC. It's very easy. It's very laid back. And we're here to help. That's one thing that I get often is people will be accepted for a presentation and they'll email me and say, can you tell me a little bit about how do people generally structure their sessions? What are some things that I should try to include to make my description sound exciting that people want? And we are more than happy to help with that. We help people talk through their kind of schedule, like the agenda for what they want to do. And our goal is really to help everyone, not just the participants, but the presenters as well, have a successful and engaging and learning experience at the conference. And it's not just teachers. We want to hear from instructional coaches. We want to hear from tech leaders. That's one thing that we want to make sure that we always provide opportunities for. Those people who are the tech coordinator for their entire district, and they don't have the opportunity to. It's not like a classroom teacher can go down the hall and say, hey, what's your approach to this? Or how are you trying to teach this in a way that gets, if you're the only tech director in the entire district, you've got to go to a different district to talk to somebody. And so we'd love to have people within that tech director, tech coordinator, tech specialist role, and even administrators talking about how you're using technology or how you're supporting and leading a technology initiative within your school. So really, it doesn't matter what your role is in public education. We want to hear from you and want you to share the cool things that are going on, across the state and across the country.
Yeah. So if you've got a project that incorporates technology, if you've got a neat way to integrate technology in your classroom, even if you think it's boring and everyone knows about it, I'm sorry to tell you, you're probably wrong.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows about what you're doing. So, we're here to help give you a voice and share what you're doing and help other teachers help kids the way you do. So look for that request for presentations coming out after the beginning of the year. And we hope we can see you at IETC 2024. Thanks,
and the
everybody.
dates for next year will be the November 13th, 14th, and 15th, again, back at the Bank of Springfield Center in Springfield, Illinois. And we look forward to having people. And, don't hesitate to reach out to me or anyone else on the LTC staff for questions, suggestions, anything like that.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
You as well. And to everyone out there listening, thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the LTC One-to-One podcast.
You can find and subscribe to this video podcast on YouTube.
Or listen to the audio by subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast was produced by the Learning Technology Center of Illinois, a program of the Illinois State Board of Education. Learn more about the LTC at ltcillinois.org.